Afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Let's just wait for another minute and then we'll start.
Ma'am, your voice is not clear.
I'm saying let's just wait for another minute and then we'll start.
No, ma'am, it's not clear.
Am I not audible?
You're audible.
Okay. Himanshi, just check your net once.
Have you taken the attendance?
I'll take it in the end, Devansh. Okay, let's start. Just a second. Okay, so you remember your roles, everyone? Who was Mrs. Pearson?
Mummy.
Who was George?
Me.
Doris? Doris was, I guess, Ishwarya, and she's not here.
May I be Doris?
Okay, you can be Doris. Who was Cyril? Cyril, I guess this was Arav. Arav, are you there? He's not responding. Who was Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Mommy.
Okay, and who was the narrator? Okay, Arav was Cyril. Okay, and we had to start from page number 47. Okay, let us start from here, right? George. Okay, Kanak, please say this. George enters, and then we'll start. Is Kanak there?
Ma'am, can you wait a minute? I have to put my book.
Okay.
Mom, which page?
Ma'am, can we wait for just 1 minute, ma'am?
Okay, I'll just wait for one more minute.
Mom, which page number?
Page number 47.
Okay, ma'am.
Let's just wait for a minute and then we'll start.
Ma'am, roles will be the same.
Yeah.
May I start?
Yes.
George enters, left grumpily. He is unpleasantly surprised when he sees the visitor. He moves to the armchair left, sits down heavily, and grumpily lifts his pipe. Then he looks from Mrs. Pearson to Mrs. Fitzgerald, who is regarding him anxiously.
Aryan, are you there?
वॉशरूम गया आ रहा है अरे बेटा मैम मैम बुला रही हूँ यस मैम
Okay.
यस मैम
Okay, start from
George
just looked in.
yes ma'am just looked in for a minute I suppose Mrs. Fitzgerald
Well, yes, I suppose so, George.
George
Oh, I'm sorry.
What does it matter? Your name's George, isn't it? Who do you think you are? Duke of Edinburgh?
What's he got to do with it? Just tell me that. And isn't it bad enough without her calling me George? Naughty. Pompey Ompy Pearson, and poor Doris has been crying her eyes out upstairs. Yes, crying her eyes out.
Oh dear, I ought to have known.
You ought to have known. What ought you have to know? You have to know. Nothing to do with Miss Fitzgerald. Look, we did at sixes and sevens here just now. So perhaps you will excuse us.
I won't excuse you, George Pearson. Next time a friend and a neighbor comes to see me, just say something good when you see her. Good evening, or how do you do, or something. And do not just march in and sit down without a word. It's bad manners.
No, it's all right.
No, it isn't all right. We'll have some decent manners in this house, or I'll know the reason why. Well,
Well, what?
why don't you get off to your. Ma'am, just a second.
Yeah.
Why don't you get off to your club? Special night tonight, isn't it? They'll be waiting for you, wanting to have a good laugh. Go on then. Don't disappoint them.
That's right. Make me look silly in front of her now. Go on. Don't mind me. Six and sevens. Poor Doris been crying her eyes out, getting the neighbors in to see the fun. All right, let her hear it. What's the matter with you? Have you gone barmy or what?
If you shout at me again like that, George Pearson, I'll slap your big fat silly face.
Oh,
Oh, no, no, no. Please, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
either I'm off my jump or you two are. How did you mean no, no, please, Miss Fitzgerald? Look, you're a Miss Fitzgerald. So why are you telling yourself to stop when you're not doing anything? Tell her to stop. Then there did be some sense in it.
Say that again, George
I think
Pearson.
you must be tiddly.
Say that again, George Pearson.
All right, all right, all right.
Anak.
Doris enters left slowly, looking miserable. She is wearing the wrap. Mrs. Pearson sits on the settee.
Hello, Doris, dear.
Hello, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
I thought you were going out with Charlie Spence tonight.
What's that to do with you?
Stop that.
No, it's all right.
It isn't all right. I won't have a daughter of mine talking to anybody like that. Now answer Mrs. Fitzgerald properly, Doris, or go upstairs again.
Don't look at me. I give it up. I just give it up.
Well, answer her.
I was going out with Charlie Spence tonight, but now I have called it off.
Oh, what a pity, dear. Why have you?
Because if you must know, my mother's been going on at making me feel miserable and saying he's got buck teeth and is half with it.
Oh, you shouldn't have said that.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, I'll manage my family. You manage yours.
Taking her off now? Are you Annie?
They're waiting for you at the club, George. Don't forget. And don't you start crying again, Doris.
That's enough. Quite enough.
George and Doris stare at her bewildered.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, this is your dialogue.
Now listen, you two. I want to have a private little talk with uh, Mrs. Pearson. So I'll be obliged if you leave us alone for a few minutes. I'll let you know when we have finished. Go on, please. I promise you that you won't regret it. There's something here that only I can do.
I'm glad somebody can. Cause I can't. Come on, Doris.
George and Doris exit left. As they go, Mrs. Fitzgerald moves to left of the small table and sits. He eagerly beckons Mrs. Pearson to do the same thing.
Mrs. Fitzgerald, we must change back now. We really must.
Why?
Because this has gone far enough. I can see they're all miserable and I can't bear it.
A bit more of the same would do them good. Make a good making a good great difference already.
No, I can't stand any more of it. I really can't. We must change back. Hurry up, please, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
Well, if you insist.
Yes, I do. Please, please.
He stretches his hands across the table eagerly. Mrs. Pearson takes them.
Quiet now. Relax.
Mrs. Pearson and Mrs. Fitzgerald stare at each other, muttering exactly as before. They carry out the same action as before, going lax and then coming to life. But this time, of course, they become their proper personalities.
Ah,
Ah, well. No, it's my turn. Ah, well, I enjoyed that.
I didn't.
Well, you ought to have done. Now, listen, Mrs. Pearson, don't go soft on them again, else it'll have all have been wasted.
I'll try not to, Mrs. Fitzgerald.
They have not had as long as I'd like to have have given them. Another hour or two's rough treatment might have made it certain.
I'm sure they'll do better now, though I don't know how I'm going to explain.
Don't you start any explaining or apologizing, or you're done for.
It's all right for you, Mrs. Fitzgerald. After all, they aren't your husband and children.
Now you listen to me. You admitted yourself you were spoiling them and they didn't appreciate you. Any apologies, any explanations, and you will be straight back where you were. I'm warning you, dear. Just give them a look, a tone of voice, now and again to suggest you might the tough. Uh, to suggest you might be tough with them you wanted to be, and it ought to work. Anyhow, we can test it.
How?
Well, what is it you'd like them to do that they don't do? Stop at home for once?
Yes, and give me a hand with supper.
Anything you'd like them to do that you enjoy, whether they do or not.
Well, yes, I like a nice game of rummy, but of course, I hardly ever have one except at Christmas.
That'll do then. But remember, keep firm or you've had it. You've had it. Hoy, you can come in now. But remember a firm hand.
George, Doris, and Cyril file in through the doorway, looking apprehensively at Mrs. Pearson.
I'm just off to let you enjoy yourself.
The family looks anxiously at Mrs. Pearson, who smiles, much relieved. They smile back at her.
Yes, mother.
Seeing that you don't want to go out, I tell you what I thought we do.
Remember,
No objections, I hope.
No, mother. No, mother. Whatever you say.
Remembered she isn't a mother to George.
Just a second. Yeah, so this is no mother, whatever. So George is saying to Mrs. Pearson only, no mother, whatever you say. He's just saying it as a post of Mrs. Pearson. That's it. Continue.
I I thought we'd have a nice family game of rummy, and then you children could get the supper ready while I have a talk with your father.
Suits me. About you too.
Arif? Okay, yes, that's all right.
Well, I.
What? Speak up.
Oh, I think it would be lovely.
Goodbye, Mrs. Pearson. Mrs. Fitzgerald. Come again soon.
yes, dear. Night all. Have a nice time.
Mrs. Fitzgerald exits left, and the family clutter around mother as the curtain falls.
Okay, very good. So, how was the play? Easy, difficult, boring, interesting. How was the
Not
play?
interesting at all.
Interesting, yeah. And it was very humorous also. There were some dialogues that were actually funny. Like, for example, the dialogue of Cyril when he says to Mrs. Fitzgerald, "Na, that it's Mr. Cyril Pearson to you." Yeah. And when the mother, Mrs. Pearson, says they make fun of you, George, they call you Ompy, Pompey, Pompous. Okay. So some dialogues were actually funny. Okay.
Ma'am, I guess the conversation between Doris, Cyril, and the Miss Pearson were quite funny too.
That was quite funny too. Okay, now let's
But
talk
I didn't find it funny.
not
Yes,
even
ma'am.
one
Neither
dialogue.
did I.
Okay. You just read it once at home. Okay, maybe then you find it.
It would have been like better if we had enacted it.
Obviously, yeah. If it would have been like offline classes, no, then it would have been more fun. But online, so we only have this way. Okay, so let's talk about the characters. These were the Two main characters, right? Okay. So, what do you think? What kind of a person Mrs. Pearson was? What kind of a woman is she?
She is timid.
Soft and kind.
Exactly.
Timid. Okay, very good.
Easy to let go.
Easy to let go. Very good.
I'm kind and soft.
Nature.
Kind
Ma'am,
and
Soft.
okay, soft. Vanshika, you were also saying something?
ma'am, selfless. Ma'am, she doesn't think about herself.
Okay. Selfless. Anything else?
Loves her family.
I'm very soft.
Okay, soft hearted, we can say.
Polite.
Polite, very good. Takes
Ma'am,
care of yes,
ma'am, I have a doubt.
yes, ask me.
Ma'am, that Mrs. Pearson had a Cockney accent, and then Mrs. Fitzgerald had an Irish accent. So when
Yes.
they changed their roles, I mean, in their bodies, so wasn't there a difference in accent that could be noticed by the
So
uh,
the thing
you know,
is that, yeah, so the accent wasn't that like when Mrs. Fitzgerald's accent was Irish, it wasn't exactly Irish, it was somewhat Irish. So when you are reading the play from the beginning, okay, so in the beginning you say that, see that you notice Mrs. Fitzgerald is speaking very normally in English, but some words are Irish. Did you notice that? Did anyone notice that in the beginning of the play? Wait, I'll tell you where I'm saying. Um, there were some words that Mrs. Fitzgerald was saying, like uh, not giving M orders and treating M like that. So there were words that were a little bit of Irish, but it was English accent only. So when they exchanged their personalities, right, the voice became heavy of Mrs. Pearson. Accent was exactly same, but the voice became heavy. So the thing about exchanging personalities is like if you've seen movies or if you read novels or stories like that, what happens is that the bodies and everything remains same, only the souls change. In this play we have seen the word personality, but if you don't use the word personality, it is the soul that changes. Rest of that, the body, the voice remains same only. Okay, just the difference between their voice was, at first Mrs. Pearson's voice was very soft and she used to speak less, she used to speak slow, but after exchanging the soul with Mrs. Fitzgerald, it became very strong voice. Is it clear now?
yes, ma'am.
Accent and all, it remains same only. Okay. Yeah, about Mrs. Pearson takes care of the family. Anything else?
Simple lifestyle.
Simple lifestyle.
Cause she didn't either smoke or drink liquor.
Yeah, you can write that does not smoke, does not drink. Okay. Loving mother, gentle wife.
I'm simple minded.
Okay, simple minded. Less
Or we can
expressive.
write simpleton instead.
Sorry.
Mom, write simpleton instead.
Yeah, that's okay. Less expressive. She was also submissive. What do you mean by submissive?
Ma'am, who easily gives into situation.
Mom, who
Very,
is easily suppressed.
who is easily suppressed. Very good. And opposite of submissive is
Dominant.
Oppressive.
Dominant.
dominant. Very good. Domineering, dominant. Okay. About
Oppressive.
Mrs. Oppressive. Oppressive. Okay. About Mrs. Fitzgerald now.
Ma'am, she was bold.
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 She did, ma'am. She used to smoke and drink also.
Okay, very good. Drinks and smokes.
Stands for herself.
Very good. Stands for herself.
Blunt with people.
Okay, very good.
Ma'am, she cared about others.
Okay,
A good friend.
very good.
A kind of witch.
Okay, kind of a bitch, or we can just write that.
Ma'am, we can use dominant here.
Check. Yes, we can do that. Anything else?
From that, she
Liv,
was talented.
she was
Talented because she knew how to change the personalities in many different things.
very good, talented.
तो मैम वो डस्ट some magic में नहीं आ जाएगा talented?
That's okay. If you want to explain that.
Ma'am, she was a fortune teller.
Okay, same magic and all. Fortune teller.
Knows how to handle people.
Very good. Knows how to handle people.
Dominant.
Dominant everything.
She had an Irish accent.
Okay, Irish accent. A little bit of Irish accent.
Ma'am, can we also write that she was humorous?
Right, Irish accent. Yeah, satire. We can write instead of humorous. We can write any other word. Sarcastic.
Yes, ma'am.
Sarcastic. She was witty also. She lived life on her own terms. Okay, why didn't I write Irish accent? Because it is a narrator that is guessing. So if you see the word very carefully, it is written Irish perhaps. So we are not sure whether it was Irish accent or not. Okay. Anything else? That's it. Okay. So what if I ask you what kind of a person was Doris? What kind of a person was Doris?
Mom, she was
Selfish.
she was a crybaby.
Okay, crybaby.
Sensitive, we can write
I'm
now.
Sensitive, we can write sensitive. Better word. Okay, and
Dependent on parents.
very good. Dependent on the mother for doing all of the things for her. Very good.
Snobby.
Snobby, very good. Spoiled. Yeah, she was also spoiled. She was having an affair with Charlie Spence. Okay. Now, what kind of a person was the son, Cyril?
Mature.
Okay, mature,
Can we write arrogant?
arrogant. Okay, he was arrogant. Hardworking. Good night, hardworking.
Ma'am, but he didn't do any household chores for her mother, for his
No,
mother.
no, not for his mother, but he says that I have done 8 hours of my day and I've done this and that. So we can assume that he was hardworking. It was not like he was, lazy and used to sit. He used to do some work. He was also spoiled.
Yes,
He
ma'am.
And again,
also
dependent on his mother.
very good. He was again dependent on his mother. Okay, what kind of a person was George Pearson?
Ignorant of the matters
He had a
about.
fragile masculinity.
Okay, ignorant. After ignorant it was
Ma'am, I think he had fragile masculinity.
fragile and toxic also. Toxic and fragile masculinity. Very good. And
Ma'am, how toxic?
Dominant.
dominant. Okay, very good.
Ma'am, how he was toxic?
Because this is not what men are supposed to do, no? This is not how men are supposed to behave. That they are ignorant and they don't take their, they take their wives for granted. They don't value their wives. So that's why toxic.
Okay.
Toxic is something who looks very good, okay, but in real life it's not good. So it was George Pearson. He used to think that he was very important and he was pompous. Pompous is again the person who thinks he is very important and he's the king of the world. Okay, so George Pearson used to think that he deserves all the respect and he's very important, but in turn it was not true. He was a very disrespectful person. Okay, and people used to make fun of him, people like that also. Okay, let's go to question answers. Just a second. Okay, what picture of Mrs. Pearson emerges in the opening of Mother's Day of the play? So we have done somewhat of it. Can anyone explain the answer? What picture of Mrs. Pearson emerges in the opening of the play? Raise your hands. Answer. Yes, Kanak.
Ma'am, we see Mrs. Pearson seeking help from her friend, Mrs. Fitzgerald, because she has spoiled her family and none of them respect her and take her for granted.
Okay. Very good. And even though they are all thoughtless and uh, even though they are all thoughtless and selfish, Mrs. Pearson is still fond of them and she doesn't want any unpleasantness in the house. Okay. Mention three things in the behavior of mother that astonished Doris.
Ma'am, firstly, she was smoking.
Okay.
Second, she had not prepared, the mother had not prepared tea for her, and
Okay.
she was actually ignoring her basically. And third, I guess Doris was astonished because she was mocking her for dating Charlie Spence.
Okay. Very good. And she was smoking and she did not make tea and
Ma'am, she was
Ma'am, I
drinking.
guess he was with the
mocking.
dress as
Ma'am, did
Yeah, she did not
actual
iron the clothes
Mrs.
as well.
Pearson know that she was dating Charlie Spence?
Yeah, and she was mocking Charlie Spence. Yeah, that's a nice way to talk. What would happen if we all talk like that? Says Cyril. In what context does he say so? What argument does he get in return? Read the question and answer.
ma'am
Ma'am,
Cyrus
he says,
is in the context, ma'am, um because his mom was Mrs. Pearson was acting really weird. She was giving
Okay,
all mocking answers to them.
okay, very good. And what
Yes,
argument does he get in return? How does Mrs. Pearson reply to this?
Ma'am, she says that all of them in the house talk to her like that.
Yes, that everyone actually talks like that. Very good. How does a stern treatment reform the spoiled children? This is a very important question.
They helped in the chores and in the making also.
They did?
ma'am,
Yes, Aryan.
ma'am, it just
Yes, ma'am.
Raise your hands
Ma'am,
first of all.
the stern treatment, reform the spoiled children, like, ma'am, some, ma'am, the parents give them punishment or scold or scold them for such mischievous activities.
Okay, you have to answer it related to the play. Okay, keeping the play in reference. Yes. Anyone else wants to add on?
It
Ma'am, this
made
question
the
you need to know that
Okay, one by one, one by one. When one person is speaking, let him speak first. Yes, Siddharth.
it made the children know that their mother can also stand for herself, and she's not their what we say maid, that she will do everything.
Okay, okay, very good. Anyone else?
Ma'am, they started to obey her and obey and respect her,
Okay,
and helped in in chores, or we can say making of supper and dinner.
okay, okay, very good.
and that
And
they
they,
should not take their parents for granted.
yes, they should not take parents for granted. And if they take it for granted, mother can always say, I'm not going to do that anything for you. Like Mrs. Pearson says that, I might take the weekend off, or I will not make tea for you, I will not make supper for you. Okay. Now, what was the truth about Mr. George Pearson that hurt him the most?
Mom, that he was mocked behind his back at the club.
Yes, very good. That
And
he was,
that everyone thought that he was pompous.
yeah, and they used to call him names also. Okay. Compare and contrast Mrs. Pearson and Mrs. Fitzgerald on the basis of the play Mother's Day.
Ma'am,
This
may
we've
I?
already discussed. This we've already discussed the character sketch. You have to write both of them, both of the
Yes,
character
ma'am.
sketches. Okay. The play Mother's Day is a humorous and satirical depiction of the status of the woman in family, bring out briefly the elements of humor and satire. Tell me this answer. The elements of humor and satire in the play.
None, ma'am.
Yes, tell me. Kanak, you were saying?
Ma'am, what's the question
It
again?
is not humorous.
Question number seven. Question number seven. Yeah, where it is used. Where can you find satire in the play? Anyone? Where is satire used in the play?
And when Miss Fitzgerald criticized Miss Pearson's son and daughter.
Very good. Very good. And you have to tell me the instances also. You can say where they make fun of George. That is also satire, humorous. And where they say na that Mrs. Fitzgerald says that they might need more than hints. Okay, and where Mrs. Pearson makes fun of Charlie Spence, where Cyril says that it is Mr. Cyril Pearson for you, and when Mrs. Fitzgerald is just sitting in front of Cyril, and Cyril still says, there is silly old bag, Mrs. Fitzgerald. This dialogue. Wait, I'll show you.
And when Miss Fitzgerald tells Sire that he's a spoiled young pecan.
Yes. Drink, you clot. There are many dialogues in this play. Okay. Next question. What social message does the play Mother's Day convey? How relevant is it in the present day context? So, this particular question we have discussed before starting the chapter. Can anyone tell me the answer? We
Ma'am,
were
that
discussing
May
a few things.
appreciate,
Yes.
respect, and mothers.
Yes, we should respect.
Ma'am,
Mother.
we should value their life,
Okay, we
and
should
should
value.
and we should help them in their daily chores.
Okay, we should help them in the daily chores. Very good. How relevant is it in present day context?
We don't do anything to help them.
Okay, we don't do. We take them for granted. Okay. Okay, so this is the assignment that you have to do in your notebook. Okay, I'll upload it on Teams. today itself. Now coming to the task sheet that we did for Browning version. Okay. So tell me the plot. Tell me the main action or the theme of the play that the entire plot is revolving around. What is the plot of the play, Mother's Day?
To regain respect among the family members of Mrs. Pearson,
Okay. Okay. Very
ma'am, or to hold a position of authority.
Ma'am, to realize the importance of mother.
very good to realize the importance of a mother. Very good.
To give them a stern treatment for their behavior towards
Okay.
their mother.
Okay. Good. Okay. Now character. Who was the protagonist? In this case, we have two protagonists.
Mrs. Fitzgerald and George
And
Pearson.
Mrs. Pearson.
Mrs.
Yeah,
Pearson and Mrs. Fitzgerald. Thought. Why behind the character's action? Now, here we take action as the changing of personalities. Okay. Now, thought is asking you why that action took place. What does the character wants in the entire play? Very easy. What do the character wants?
Recognition of her work.
Very good recognition of her work. Gaining
Appreciation and
self-respect.
respect.
Okay. Very good. Gaining respect from the family members. Very good. Spend some time with family members, you know, and encourage them to help her. Okay. Diction. How the dialogue is a tactic characters utilize to achieve their objectives. So basically, what are the important dialogues in the play that tells you the about the theme of the play? What are the important dialogues? Can anyone tell me?
Can you please repeat the question?
You have to tell me the dialogues, important dialogues. You're talking about diction here. That is, you have to tell me how the dialogues are being utilized. What are the important dialogues in the play that tells you the theme, tells you about the theme of the play. For example,
Ma'am, may I?
yeah, please tell me.
Ma'am,
May I?
on Mrs. Pearson with conversation with Cyril says, well, yes, well, now I've decided that I don't like mending.
Okay, very good, very good. And
Ma'am, there's one more, ma'am.
tell me.
Ma'am, she is saying to Doris that well, this time I don't talk rubbish to me about working harder. I have
Yeah,
a good idea how much you do, Doris Pearson.
very
I
good.
put in 12 hours you do and get no wages, nor thanks for it.
Yeah, very good. So she is expressing this that I am working more than you, and I am still don't get even a thanks from you. And there is one dialogue here also. Here, when Mrs. Fitzgerald says that you admitted yourself you were spoiling them and they didn't appreciate you. Yeah. Any other dialogue?
When
There's
Miss
one.
Fitzgerald says that who's better for being spoiled, a young lad or a young girl, you think you does them good when you run after them all time, take their orders as if you were a servant, and you never think about yourself.
Very good. Very good. So
Ma'am,
there are
also when Mrs. Fitzgerald suggests Mrs. Pearson not to explain herself.
very good. Very good. So there are many dialogues that can, express the theme of the play. Okay. Spectacle. Spectacle is the setting. Where is the play taking place? Very easy. The first page, first thing that is written there.
Mom, the living
In
room.
Pearson's house.
Living room in London.
Yes,
Mrs.
ma'am.
Pearson's house in London. Song. So song, you have to tell me the what is the entire tone of the play. First, tell me that. What is the tone of the play?
Sarcasm,
Sarcastic, humorous,
ma'am, boldness,
Witty.
witty. Very good.
ma'am, boldness.
Okay. And here also, when we talk about the character's tone, it's written very clearly here that Mrs. Pearson speaks in a light, flurried sort of tone with a touch of suburban cockney, and Mrs. Fitzgerald has a very deep voice. Okay, and this is the tone, this is the voice of them, and the tone of the play will be satirical or sarcastic. Okay, I will be uploading this also on Teams. Now tell me if there's any doubt in the play, please.
Mom, I
If
didn't
there's
understand the plot.
you didn't who didn't understand the plot?
I'm like, what do I write in plot?
Okay, can anyone help here? Can anyone tell me what is the plot? Can anyone tell me the plot of the play? What is the plot of the play?
Ma'am, the plot of the play is that, ma'am, it makes makes realization of mother's importance.
Okay, so the plot is very basically here the depiction of the status of women in a household is portrayed. First of all, you write that in this play we see how the woman of the household is being treated. Okay, and then how she teaches the family members a lesson as to how she should be treated. That is basically the plot. Is it okay now, Kanna? Or should I explain in detail?
Mom, doesn't it have to be like 2-3 lines?
You can write it in 2 3 lines that there's a depiction of the status of the woman in a household and how she should be treated rightly.
Fine, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah. Any other doubt? Anyone? Please ask me this any doubt.
Ma'am, the question with spoiled child 1, can you
Yeah.
please sum up the answer for that?
Which question? It was an assignment?
Yes, ma'am, I guess the fourth question.
Just a second. How does a stern treatment reform the spoiled children? Okay, first of all, in this, you have to write about the stern treatment that has been given to the children. What is the stern treatment that has been given to the children? That the mother doesn't iron the clothes, doesn't prepare the tea, doesn't prepare the supper, okay, and is talking about taking the weekend off and not doing anything for them. That is a stern treatment given to the children, and in the end, children realize that if the mother doesn't work, it will be a problem, and they should treat the mother properly, and they should help the mother with the work. This is how they are reformed, that they should spend some time with the mother, they should help her. That is why in the end the children says, okay, we will prepare the meal, we will prepare the supper, because they realize that the mother is working the entire day for them.
Ma'am, so the answer should be with in reference to the story.
Yeah, the answer should be in reference to the story, in reference to the play.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Any other doubt?
Ma'am,
Anyone? Sorry, Kana?
No.
ma'am, can we leave?
Okay, wait. Attendance. Just a second. In the next class, we start with birth. Okay, that is the last chapter of term 2. We'll start with birth. Okay. Akansha,
Present, ma'am.
Arav Grewal, Arav Sharma, Agnish, Aishwarya,
Present, ma'am.
Akshita, Aman,
Present, ma'am.
Arumita,
Present,
Aryan,
ma'am.
okay,
Present,
Aryan,
ma'am.
Ayush,
Present, ma'am.
Bhavya Bhadwaj,
Present, ma'am.
Bhavya Mishra,
Present, ma'am.
Daman,
Present, ma'am.
Devansh,
Present, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Dishita.
Ma'am.
Yes,
Ma'am.
Ma'am, Akshita is present.
yes, I've marked you present. Galaxy, Gautam Kakkar.
Ma'am, Dishita present.
Okay, Dishita. Gautam Kumar,
Present, ma'am.
Himanshu.
He's present, but he is having network issues.
Okay, Jayant.
Present, ma'am.
Kanak.
Present, ma'am.
Kunjal.
Present, ma'am.
Lakshay.
Present, ma'am.
Lenoy.
Present, ma'am.
Manav.
Present, ma'am.
Pragya. Rishabh. Rohan. Sahil Bisht.
Present, ma'am.
Sahil Sharma. Sanket.
Present, ma'am.
Sayam. Shashwat.
Present, ma'am.
Shivansh. Shriya.
Present, ma'am.
Siddhant Sharma. Siddharth Jain.
Present, ma'am.
Siddharth Simwal.
Present, ma'am.
Shrishti. Vani.
Present, ma'am.
Vanshika.
Present, ma'am. Vanshika
Okay.
present.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. You can leave now.
Answers
I'll see you.
present.
Ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Bye.